Hey folks, Randy Newberg here. We are in rainy Bozeman, Montana today, and I have two wonderful guests who have decided to join me this Friday before Memorial Day weekend. And we're going to talk about some really cool stuff. These are like mad scientist guys here of the product, the clothing world. So a lot of you out on our Hunt Talk web forum ask all these questions about, well, I wonder how this happens. I wonder how that happens. Well, in the next hour or so, you're going to get to understand how really high quality performance clothing gets made from start to finish. But before we get into that, I just want to quickly go through the wonderful people who make this podcast possible. GoHunt.com. Many of you hear about this insider research service they have. It says be your own hunting consultant, and it couldn't be more true. Just a little testimonial to that, thanks to Utah issuing their draw results the other day. There was a deer unit that I really didn't know that much about, and then I started reading about it in the Insider from Go Hunt. And don't be mad at me, but I drew the one non-resident archery mule deer tag in that unit. But if you go to GoHunt.com, click on the Insider, and you sign up, there's a promo code from that we use. It's Hunt Talk, HUNTTALK. Hunt Talk is the promo code, and if you use that, you're going to get the Gerber scalpel blade. Their Vital knife is what it's called. It's a scalpel blade, replaceable blade knife. So go to the GoHunt.com, click on Insider. If you sign up and use the promo code Hunt Talk, you're going to get a free Gerber Vital knife. The other one, Orion Coolers. You know that we had Damon on here not very long ago, Damon Bungard from Orion. And, well, I think I'd said on the last podcast that I lived out of those coolers for a week in Alaska just recently. And like always, they perform marvelously well. Go to orioncoolers.com, and they're probably as bad ass of a cooler as you're going to get. I think I can say that without getting in trouble. So, I own the joint.
It's your podcast.
I can say it I want, right? And then the last one is Onyx Maps. Many of you see how we hunt areas with a lot of public-private interface, and you see me running around with my GPS, and in there I have these chips from Onyx Maps that give all the surface ownership. And their new product that they launched this year is a new hunt app. If you go to onyxmaps.com and use the promo code RANDY, RANDY 16, you're going to get 20% off that new app. So great, folks, onyxmaps.com. And now, with that behind us, we're going to get into the substance of this. Joining me today are John Barklow and Eric Gilmore from Sitka Gear. And I'm just trying to think of how to properly introduce you guys, because I'm sitting here, I'm like,
drum rolls maybe,
something like that. We tried red carpet out in the front of the building here, but that just didn't seem right for guys who I guess take ideas and convert them into reality, and in the process do a lot of crazy stuff to get from idea to reality. And for a little background, John, you are the big game product manager at Sitka, is that correct?
That's correct, yep.
And Eric, you are the product developer at Sitka, correct?
Yep.
With the background in apparel design. And I did not know this till the other day when we were talking. There is such a thing as an apparel engineer.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
4-year degree at many universities across the U.S. and overseas. It's a lot of people are doing. A lot of people don't take it the way I've taken it, but
most of them are baristas at Starbucks.
Hey, now the Starbucks folks are going to email me, John.
I love Starbucks. They have very high quality baristas.
Well, I'm a big fan of Dairy Queen also. So now it looks like I'm going to be going to Starbucks and Dairy Queen looking for sponsorship. So, but you guys, I'm trying to give the listener some context here. I went over to the Sitka office, which is here in Bozeman now. You guys like that move from California to Bozeman?
So neither of us were ever in California, so we like it.
Anyhow, their office is right next to a coffee shop I go to a lot, the Daily Coffee Bar. Man, I'm just plugging everybody.
Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe what else? I got Wrangler jeans on. I got some Merrill shoes. Man, I could just be like one of those NASCAR billboards here pretty soon. But anyhow, I walk into I'll call it the laboratory, and I don't know if I dare say this. We might have to edit this part out. But John hands me a clipboard that has a non-disclosure agreement on it. I'm like, wow, is this like Fort Knox or what's the deal here?
It's my government background. You can never be too careful.
Tell me, okay, tell us about the government background, John.
Well, I was in the Navy for 26 years and worked around special operations community for 20 of that. So we're leery of shifty characters wandering into our spaces. So put you under an NDA so we can at least throw you in jail if.
Yeah, and I'm reading that. I'm like, you got all this crazy stuff on the walls, and there's mannequins and things. I'm like, are they shooting people down there? What the hell's going on?
Everything probably but that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you guys are down there. Is this like where all the ideas come from?
I that's where they kind of culminate, but I think a lot of the ideas happen outside, hunting, outside, doing hiking, climbing, skiing, doing whatever.
Yeah. So tell me, the audience is gonna want to know, and I've talked to you guys enough that I have a little idea, but through the course of this podcast, I want to talk about how does something go from idea to reality, and both in the terms of timeline and bumps in the road, and what if it doesn't work out the way it was planned? I mean. And again, since I signed that NDA, John, I don't want to. I'm not asking you to tell the audience here anything that's going to get me in trouble or any of you guys fired. But you guys are outdoors all the time. You guys know how the product or what a product needs for the kind of things that hunters do. Where's this go?
That's part of. That's one of the things that makes what we do so good is you could hire people that are really talented in design or know textiles, but if they don't know the end use application and have what I like to call that intimate connection with the product and how it's going to be used, there's always something lost in translation. Yeah. And so, we may bring these skills to the table, but at the end of the day, we're hunters. Like, we're mountain athletes. We're out there. The people we surround ourselves are of the same mindset. We're constantly talking about it. I mean, the reality is I've probably been training myself for this job since I was 5 years old. Right? I mean, it's just what I've always loved to do, right? I mean, we're all gearheads and we run around, and if something doesn't work, we modify it and tweak it.
Yep. So you got, rather than be like me, if something doesn't work or I want an idea, I pick up the phone or get on the computer and I email you guys.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question. You guys don't do that. You take it back into the shop and kind of trick it out. Is that, for lack of a better term, thinking about guys in their snowmobiles here?
Yeah. I mean, we're constantly modifying products, updating products, thinking about something that is maybe in the line today and how we want to make it better in a year from now, because there's something we see or didn't see when we were designing a building. Not to say it doesn't function properly, but we see something else. It's like, if I do this, it's going to make that product even better.
Yeah.
And you guys just see what kind of comes out the end.
Right. We get to see what comes out. Yeah. We get to see the finished cake with the frosting.
Yeah, there's some, just in the year and a half I've been there, I mean, I've tried some crazy things. Uh-huh. And got them on some folks. We have some fantastic field testers. And
yes.
I just say, just try it with an open mind. Mm-hmm. And, throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. And sometimes it doesn't, but that's mm-hmm. also where the next great idea could potentially come from. So it's nice to have the freedom to do that as well. Yeah. So nobody's down there kind of telling us we can or can't do something. They're just like, have at it, boys, and see what you come up with.
Yeah. So no one says, all right, head down this path. with this outcome. They're not. No one's telling you.
I think there's some of that in the beginning when we plan it, but there's no one, keeping you. You have to do this way so we can get this product to sell to this customer. We're building products for the pursuit. We're building products for an end use, and they're really tailored to that end use.
Okay. So when I walked in there and you handed me that clipboard, I'm like, holy crap, look at all this stuff here. It looks like it's in some sort of, I don't know what phase you would call it.
It depends on the product.
Okay. Because when I left there, my mind was spinning. I'm like, I wanted to ask so many questions, but I'm sure it was none of my business. So.
Well, and we talked about this the other day, but what a lot of people don't understand, and quite frankly, I didn't until I got into this business, was, our fall 16 products are going to be ready to buy on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, June 1st.
June 1st.
The 2016 product line is ready.
Is in the warehouse, ready to ship. So, you're right. Okay. So, get on it and buy.
Yep. Sitka.com, or go to your local retailer. That's right. Sitka.
Right. But where Eric and I sit, kind of what we affectionately call the dungeon.
I thought that same thing when I walked in.
Right.
Yeah.
So, fall 16, as much as we love that product, we've been personally wearing and hunting in that product for well over a year.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it's old hat
to you guys,
to us downstairs, in the sense that not only is 16 done and just getting ready to sell, but we just finished 17. We're working on 18, and quite honestly, my mind for my product and conversations Eric and I have, I'm on 19 and 20. So fall 19 and fall 20. Now some of it becomes a little bit conceptual at times, but some products, if you're designing a textile from scratch, if you're designing something the hunting industry's never seen and you just have a piece of white paper in front of you, it can take quite a long time and quite a few iterations, going back and forth with factories and talking to Eric and trying stuff and scrapping it and trying again. It can take quite a long time. I would say the average product, an 18 month development from what we'll call launch to delivery or delivery to the factory. But some of these things can take 3 or 4 years. So I've been working on things for fall 18 for over a year and a half. And so they've been, so some of the things have actually gotten, some of the products could be used during the spring. So some of the products have had 3 hunting seasons under their belt.
Before they even get
and
approved. Okay, let's head
and it'll
down
be
this path.
Probably 4 hunting seasons. So we'll probably do one more this fall before we'll call it baked and feel comfortable going forward. And so that could be style, a certain fit. That could be a certain textile we're using. It could be a myriad number of things we're trying to test. And we, like I said, we have fantastic field testers, and so we use it, but it's not just our show. We design it and build it for a lot of people, and so we want their feedback. And then the tough job is we have to filter that feedback and then say, okay, well, this is where we're land here. And but it's a constant, but sales is getting ready to sell 16, and I'm trying to figure out how to sell stuff in 18 and 19.
So how big is your group of product testers? Or does it depend by product line? Because now you're in big game, you're in whitetail, you're in waterfowl.
Right.
So I don't know. What do you think? We have about a dozen key testers who we're constantly going to, and then there's a bunch more outside of that who we may use for large, broader scope tests. But I don't know, a dozen, like hardcore.
And depending on the product, if it's a really kind of niche piece, we may reach out to people that have very special skill sets or hunt in very special environments that we want to get their opinion on something. So, but I'd say overall we have probably a dozen people.
Okay. So where do I forward the emails that I get that say, hey, how do I become a product tester for Sitka gear?
So it's a very select group of people we have we've built relationships with who we know what they do it, so we can put the right gear on them.
Right. And
We don't just it's not. I mean, we test gear on on ourselves all the time, but
Right.
even our opinions aren't necessarily matched for someone who's hunting in Alaska or British Columbia or even down in Arizona. So
Yeah.
we try to get those people involved as much as possible because it's not just our opinion that matters.
So already my mind is saying, all right, and I know some people in other apparel industries, not the hunting apparel industry, but they can almost go overseas to where the big apparel manufacturing places are. And they can say, I want this garment with this design, this fabric, the zipper here, the buttons there. It's almost like you walk in and you order it off a menu. Doesn't sound like you guys are doing that.
No, and I mean, I just got back from a trip to Northern California doing some work, and we had about 12 people in a room from various parts of, circles of development, circles of manufacturing, working on a single product. And this product we've been working on for probably about a year, and we're just getting to the point where we're seeing a prototype, And
With
now
12 people.
12 people. I mean, manufacturers, pattern maker, a couple pattern makers, the owner of the company. We're just everybody in the room working on all the various aspects to build one product. I was sitting there going, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always happen that way, but certain products, depending on how technical they are or what they're trying to do, involve a large group of people to make it happen. And it's not just John and I, we do a lot of grunt work, but there's a bigger team involved in making any product that we build, especially things that are seam taped, seam sealed. That product is super technical and highly refined.
And to give you an idea, going back to your question or comment about going in and kind of ordering off a menu, the analogy I like to use is most of the time we're scratch making the biscuit. So we're not buying the ready-made mix. Yeah. So, for instance, I'm working on a product for 18. It's a new system, actually. And the textile is kind of a key component to this kind of being what I want it to be. And so I wrote a problem statement and said, this is what I need this textile or several textiles to do. Here's what I'm looking for. Now, mind you, I'm not a textile person by trade, mm-hmm. but I know what I want. And I give examples and I give some samples. And we have a woman then that essentially scours the world at these textile manufacturers. And she comes back and she says, okay, here's what they have. Is any of this close? It could be. Sometimes it's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Rarely is that the case, but sometimes it's close. And then from that point, we essentially have these mills build us a textile that, for all intents and purposes, has never existed. Really? And it takes time, and it takes dedication, and quite honestly, it takes some money, and it takes a little bit of. I have to write a business case for it sometimes, but that's the effort that's put into these products to try to make them the best that have ever been made.
And so you're just defining what goes into
that's just
choosing
textile.
the textile,
yeah,
not the layout, not its functionality, zippers, taping, seams.
That's
sewing.
Not working with the designer. That's not the concept of the garment or the system. That's just one small component.
Wow. And then what goes into that? Like, so we build that textile before it ever even goes to a piece of apparel. We have physical tests we do on it to make sure it's of the quality we need to meet our minimum testing requirements,
which are
high. And then from there, we'll build it into a garment, and then we can actually physically test the garment in the field.
So have you ever had an instance where you said, all right, we think this is the perfect textile for it. We build the garment, we send it out in the field, and it's like, crap. Mm-hmm. Now we just realize we overlooked this, or or what we thought would be the application in the field. There's some other things that, and
Yep.
then you kind of have to hit the reset button and go all the way back to building a new textile for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes or
Yeah.
modify it.
We've done things where in solid color, it performed outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as we get it into the printing process and finishing process and into the field testing again, something happens and it doesn't perform like it did in solid. I mean, just as little tweaks, changes like that can affect the textile.
So
And we got to go back to the drawing board.
So you're saying that a certain textile, if it's in a solid, will perform a certain way, and when it gets printed with a pattern, it'll perform a different way?
It's not every textile performs that happens to, but there's been a select few that's been the case, you know.
And it's very difficult to predict.
Yeah.
So these brilliant textile people we work with, they cannot predict sometimes what is going to happen when it prints. And you know, we're trying to make hunting clothing, and so the camouflage pattern on it is important.
Yeah.
And the type of textile you choose drives the process how it's printed. And so he was referring to a pant, and we were very, very late in development on this pant. So it was getting to the
By
point.
late, you mean not late, and you're not behind schedule late, but way down
Yeah,
the path.
way down the path, and
Yeah.
we felt very comfortable. Everything was going good. This was kind of right when I got there, but the problem was the pant had never been printed in any kind of quality and quantity and tried in the field. And so just almost by mistake,
Yeah.
we had some pants that went out in the field up on a stone sheep hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And they came back and they looked horrible. Now, the performance was fine.
Yeah.
The breathability, the DWR and everything, but
Yeah.
the print did something weird to the face, the outer part of the textile.
Yeah.
And it didn't look good.
Didn't it? Wasn't acceptable.
And it was a very, very difficult financial decision, but that textile we scrapped, although we had bought a lot of it because we were just about ready to go to production. We scrapped it and went back to the incumbent, which was still a great textile, but we're always trying to push the envelope.
Yeah.
But we just felt we owed it to ourselves and
Yeah.
our consumer to not put that in the market. And so that we learned quickly that, and this is where some of the cost comes in,
Yeah.
is it costs extra to get things printed. And so at some level in the beginning, it's okay to test stuff in a solid.
Right.
But we also learned that if it's directionally what we want, we have to have it printed and tested
Early in the process.
early in the
In the
process and make sure that something weird doesn't go on in the chemistry. So, for instance, something else that will happen is you'll get a textile that feels really nice and is soft, exactly kind of what you want. And as soon as you print it a certain way, it can take on a gritty, almost sandpaper type
Really?
feel and face. And again, they can't predict it, so you just have to do it and then see.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, you have to find something else.
So I'm a bean counter, right? I'm a CPA. I'm sitting here thinking, as you guys are talking about this, you're far along in the process of a new pant. And the bean counter in me is like, there's a lot of money already sunk into that point.
There can be.
We've got people ready to produce this. We've already started talking about, let's get this in stores. Let's get this sold when it's produced. It seems like there would be business pressures to say, that's good enough. We got a lot in this. Just get it out there. We can't afford to go back. But you're saying that is not what drives what ends up on the shelf with a Sitka tag on it.
No, and that's not our MO is to put the best product in the field we can. And if we see something like that, we are not going to allow it to get out there, you know.
The pressure is for us to do better on the front end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The pressure is never to take a poor quality product to market. We just had the same thing happen with some wool. and it didn't print well.
Yeah.
And honestly, people like us would have noticed it, and probably most consumers wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And we didn't feel it was right to do that. We don't feel it would have met the expectations of our consumer and the expectations of us. And we're not taking it to market this year. We're not taking a certain pattern in wool to market. We just I'm assuming it got put in some big pile in Asia and burned. I don't know. But it's not going to be on it's not going to be on the store shelf.
Well, so us accountants are like control freaks. So what you're saying is it'd be frustrating to be a bean counter at Sitka because the bean counters aren't at the top of the decision pyramid.
Correct.
So
the engineers and product people.
So we
are the final call.
We are a product driven company.
Yep.
Now, mind you, we're also in it to make money. Don't kid yourself. But our philosophy has always been that if we make the best product, that we will win. People will buy it, and the adoption will continue.
Yeah. Wow. I just think about the pressures that companies face. And I'm not just talking about apparel, but any company. Once you get far down that path, you've got so much riding on that for you guys to have the ability and the authority to say, nope, not doing it, that's unusual. Let's just put it that way. That's unusual in a manufacturing company.
It is unusual.
Huh.
It is unusual, but...
So I want to go back to that pant thing as well. Not only did we pull the product, we had to remake the product in another textile. And as soon as you do that, everything changes. It's not like you can take one product from textile A and put it into textile B and it's going to be fit identical. We had to rework our fitting. We had to rework our sizing. We had to refit them on our fit models. We went to Asia and did fits over there. It was, there was a lot of things that went into place as soon as we said we're dropping that textile that we had to take care of, and there's a lot of work.
And hopefully all the consumer sees is a badass.
Exactly. And that's what I'm thinking is the consumer has no idea. When I'm sitting on the top of the Gallatin Range and the wind's blowing in November, and I'm sitting there in my Timberline pants thinking, man, these are the best pants I've ever had. It's kind of like my elk hunting uniform. Yep. I have no idea until I started talking to you guys in the last while what went on to even design a Timberline pant. How long has that been on the market now?
Since I've been with the company, so that's going on 4 years. So
and probably longer than that.
If ever you guys are going to terminate that, I'm running out and hoarding all the inventory I can find.
I don't think we could.
Yeah.
I think we'd get run out of town if we did that.
But the point being is, I was clueless about all that went, just the little things, the zippers, whatever, fitting, size, belts. That goes into that.
So let's, so move ahead. So now we have a product.
Yep.
Well, so now we have a product,
yeah.
and we build systems. Sitka builds systems.
Right.
Sitka doesn't build a piece of clothing. We build systems. And so when I'm thinking about a product, when somebody presents us with an idea, when Eric and I are talking, so in my mind, I immediately start to calculate, say it's a jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that jacket fall into either an existing system we have, and does it enhance that system, or is that jacket and that design, that textile, whatever the new technology is there a way to build a system around it? So we never look at product in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a system. So this is one of the things I had brought from the government from years of training. Theory doesn't work. You have, theory is theory until it's proven to be fact.
Yeah,
right.
And so we were getting some challenge on a particular jacket that we've got coming out in fall 17, and people were questioning because it was it's never been done in the hunting space, so people within the walls had a kind of hard time figuring it out. So what Eric and I did, and we do this all the time, is the jacket's supposed to move moisture. The jacket's supposed to keep you warm when wet. You hear all these things all the time.
Right.
And that's all you hear is people talking about it. And we move beyond that. And Eric and I put on the system of this jacket is one component, and we take the jacket and we can submerge it in a bucket of water, and we pull it out of the bucket of water and we put it on with the rest of the system, and we put packs on our backs and we go for a hike with a stopwatch and see, does it dry? Does it move moisture? If it does, how quickly? What are the environmentals? And we continue to do that over and over and over to prove to ourselves, really, right, that we have created a component of a system that enhances the overall system. So it's kind of a long explanation, but it's super important because people talk about systems and people talk about layering,
Right.
but very rarely does anybody ever demonstrate. Very rarely does anybody have the intimate knowledge to say, this is the best insulation for this jacket, for this system, because we have actually tried it in the conditions we're telling you it will work in.
Right.
That takes time. That takes dedication. That takes people who know what they're doing, not just from a design standpoint or a production standpoint, but actually from a field use standpoint.
Right. And when you say people know what they're doing, you guys can't see this who are listening, but these are not fresh college graduates that we're talking to here. Eric, you've been in this gig how long?
20 plus years
Of designing high performance apparel.
Outdoor companies, outdoor gear for 20 plus years.
And
I'm going on 18.
Okay. So the point I'm making there is when you guys go out and do your own personal testing and get your comfort level with it, you guys have been there, done that, seen it, and good enough isn't good enough.
My wife just rolls her eyes. she just knows it's coming.
What are you wearing this time? Why are you jumping in the river?
Yeah, there's some people I hang out with that do a little product testing for you guys. And I get to see some of this stuff, and I instantly, when you got some downtime, I start asking questions, and I can tell they're kind of uncomfortable. Like, am I allowed to talk to Randy about this stuff? He sees me wearing it.
Only if he signed an NDA.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, and I do tell them, I'm like, look, John made me sign the NDA, so I'm good. And then when I'm taking photographs or we're doing video or whatever, I'm like, better get that guy out of the frame, because I know what's going to happen. I post this on my website, and there's going to be 35 questions of, hey, what was that guy wearing? And then I'm going to get a call from the attorney at Sitka saying, remember that NDA you signed? No, I'm just kidding. The point is, the people that I hang out with who are doing just a small part of your product testing, they spend, I would guess, 300 days a year in the mountains.
That's why they're testing for us.
Yeah.
Doing some of the craziest, insane stuff. And part of me is like, why did you do that last week? Oh, I just wanted to see. I got this new thing from Sitka, and I just was going to go see if it did. And yeah, it did. Man, I can't wait till it gets to market, blah, blah, blah. So
there's been companies, and I'm not specifically talking about the hunting industry, but there are companies out there that get a reputation for, quote, testing on their consumer. So, well, it's good enough, or, well, we think we have a theory, let's put it out there and get, 6,000 people to buy whatever and see what the feedback is, see if customer service is inundated. That we don't want that reputation. Right. I would rather have the folks we're talking about hate me because they had one miserable night or one miserable day, than have our consumers hate us because, we did something that didn't work.
You can go to some of these factories or fabric mills, and you can find, you can engineer something really inexpensive, or you can negotiate with them. We want this fabric at this price because we got to meet we're trying to sell something at $19.99. We don't do that. We develop a textile from the start to meet an end use, and you just can't go about building product for a price.
Yeah.
And that's how we keep things incredibly high end and perform. The performance of our product is just incredible.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt about that. And just in the sake of full disclosure to the listener, when I started the TV show, Sitka had come out, I think, a year or two earlier. And I had a series of guest hunters. And so the first 2 seasons, I think it was, I went out and I bought Sitka gear plus your supposed competitors at the time. And we wore all different garments, different patterns, different everything throughout the first 2 seasons. And that was hard on the pocketbook. Not just because I was paying full retail for everything, but I was not just buying Sitka, I was buying your competitors also. And when it was all said and done, it kind of came to, we can call it a vote, whatever you want to call it, just feedback of, all right, guys, what did you guys think? And pretty much it was unanimous among all the guys is, can you get some more of that Sitka gear stuff? I'm like, well, I can, but it's going to cost me a lot of money. And then actually I bumped into Jonathan, one of the founders, at a trade show. It just was kind of like perfect timing because I was about ready to have to infuse more cash into this business to go do a lot of things. And he said, we should make sure that you have our gear. Because he thought that I was getting it for free. I'm like, no, I'm paying. I'm not even getting a pro deal. I'm paying full retail, and I'm going to go pay full retail for a bunch more of it. Mm-hmm. And so the reason I say that is I didn't come to Sitka gear because just, it was, the thing to do, or it was, somebody, I had an in or somebody gave me something. It was this process of me and a bunch of other hunters saying, look, if we're going to do this and we're going to have this audience and we're going to talk about that money isn't what drives us, our reputation and our credibility and our authenticity is more important of our message and the products we use. I kind of had to put my money where my mouth is. And I did that. And then, everyone knows that for the last 5 years, I've been very much an advocate and an ambassador for Sitka, just in part because of that, but also, you guys, this is probably too low on the education level for you guys because you lead this stuff. But for me, as if you want to call it an ambassador for Sitka, they told me if you're going to be promoting our gear, you're going back to, is it Delaware? Is that?
Yeah.
I flew into Philly.
Yeah. In Elkton, Maryland,
Yeah. So they fly me into Philly. And we get on a bus. That's why I'm saying I think we ended up in Delaware.
Newark, Delaware.
Yeah, we end up at Gore headquarters, and they called it a Gore-tex session. So for me to become an ambassador of your Sitka product, I had to spend a week back there in June. And it was like such a learning curve of how this Gore mindset is of quality, innovation. Good is not good enough. And you get to talk to all these PhDs and all these, you go through this whole process, not just about the membranes and all because people see the Gore-tex tag hanging off all your clothing. And so you get to learn all that history. You get to see how they do it. And then the last day or two, you just get to go around all the product testing and quality. I don't know if you call it quality control, whatever. Walk into this one room. There's like 300 washing machines in there. And they're washing these products. I don't know how many times the garment had to be washed and tested and washed and tested. And then run through dryers, the same thing. I'm like, I'm never going to wash and dry my clothes that much in 10 lifetimes. And the engineer guy's like, yeah, we know that, but we can't have failure. And then they had this machine that replicates a boot walking through water. I can't remember how many, I'll call it footsteps, they were trying to replicate. And this wasn't just like one boot on the machine. This company had to send in hundreds of boots that they all got put through that thing for And we came back the next day, the machine's still running
Yeah.
with these boots in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is just a mindset of how it is. And so it was they called it a Gore-tex session. And it was me, Corey Jacobson, Donnie, Kiviak, trying to remember who else was. Anyhow, I think we all left with the same impression of, we hunt pretty hard, but I don't think we're going to ruin this clothing after that.
We just did something. Was it last year with the whitetail line?
The launch or the back east?
No, when we were talking about, so we apply this polygene coating, which is antimicrobial for smell, and it's the claim from polygene is it's the life of the garment, and they define that, which I'm not going to share, but we said, okay, well, it's on our product.
We need to.
What is the life of this garment? And so what we did was, because it depends on the number of washings.
Right.
So, the reality is a big game hunter's not going to wash his clothes as often as a whitetail hunter.
Right.
I mean, some guys wash them every day.
Yep.
So we decided that the average whitetail hunter is going to hunt X number of days a year. That product's going to last X number of years. And then we kind of added some fudge factor, and we sent it back to the lab, and we said, we need these garments washed to this end. And the woman came back and said, that's 3 times more than anyone has ever requested or the industry standard. And we're like, yep, we're okay with that. People love me because I'm always trying to do stuff like that. And we're like, no, we're okay with that. And she says, but do you know how long that's going to take? And I'm like, no, but I'm not the person doing it. And long story short, it came back and it passed with flying colors.
Wow.
Flying colors, like almost with 100%.
Yeah. And it's
relevancy.
It takes a long time, and it also costs a lot of money. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
And so you hear that as a common theme, right? We've all talked about it, that the costs associated with this. None of this is inexpensive, but again, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times we say that. It's like, this is the right thing to do. We've had products that we wanted to launch. So I had products I wanted to launch in 2017 that I just wasn't comfortable with yet. And so we had to push them out a year to 2018. And that'll continue to happen as opposed to try to rush something to market. But I want to go back to something you'd said before. You affectionately called yourself a bean counter.
Uh-huh.
And we talked about investment
Right.
with your company. But really, if you look at Sitka gear as an investment,
Right.
I think it helps. So if you say, well, this pants cost me X, but that pant's going to last you for 5 or 6 years, really probably to the point where you're more tired of the pant than the pant is tired of you, and you just want something new.
Right.
When you look at it like that from an investment standpoint, it's but you see what's going into giving you that pant.
Right. And that I always tell people, and whether it's when I'm advising clients in my CPA firm or even when I'm talking to a lot of our listeners and viewers who ask me equipment questions. Cash out the door falls into 2 categories. Expense, which is recurring and usually annual or close to annual, or an investment. So you can either put your cash out the door out of your checkbook and invest in something that's going to provide returns and last a long period of time, or you can do the same thing and you can buy something that is a quasi-disposable. You're going to be buying it and replacing it, buying it and replacing it. And for me and our audience, and the people who listen to us and watch us, they take their time seriously. They, in today's world, I think time is our most valuable commodity. And with families, with school, with kids, with whatever work, all those things, our time to go and hunt is extremely valuable because we just don't get to do enough of it. And when someone goes out there, the last thing they want is an equipment failure, a clothing failure, a whatever. And anyone who's listening, just like myself, I'm sure they went through this phase in their life where, all right, I'm going to go down to the box store and I'm going to buy something because it's on sale today. And you went out and it rained or it sleeted and you were absolutely miserable. It compromised your hunt. You went home early or you weren't able to stay out as long as you wanted. And so for me, I just take those life lessons forward and say, you know what? When the time comes to gear for something as important to me as my hunting time or my fishing time, whatever, I'm going to invest over a period of time. It might take me 3 or 4 years to fill out that equipment need, but it's going to be an investment and I don't got to worry about it failing. And I know it's going to be there when I need it.
Yeah, I don't want to get pushed out of the mountains because of a gear failure. Yeah. I want to get pushed out of the mountains because I'm ready to leave. And we're not perfect. Our process isn't perfect. Nothing we do is perfect. We're human beings, but that's why we have an amazing warranty and we have a fantastic customer service team, and the very few small percentage of folks that may have some type of issue. We're pretty damn good about taking care of it, but also they come down and tell us so we can look into it and see if, well, maybe that was a one-off and statistically would never happen again, or maybe there is something. Maybe we did use the wrong stitch somewhere. Maybe we didn't use the right heat setting when they set a certain patch or something like that. We take that stuff serious, but most of the time it's everybody's fine.
Yeah. And I can verify what John just said, and you guys have seen me down there. I call it dumpster diving. Your customer service people, when they get product back, they'll call me and say, hey, Randy, your camera guys need anything or your guest hunters need anything? We got a bunch of returns here that are virtually flawless, but we're not going to put them back out there. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe how small of an area. I don't know how many garments you guys sell in a year.
A lot.
Yeah. But I go down there and the returns are just, there's not many of them. I'm like, wait a second. I'm looking for this size. And they're like, well, we haven't had any returned of that size. I'm like, you mean of all the however many thousands and thousands of garments you sell, you don't have any returned in a size 36 regular? No, we don't right now. So it's
right.
But
and like you said, that most of them that come back and we warranty, some people would kill to have that and you keep using it.
And that's the other part. I'm looking through them. I'm like, can you tell me what's wrong with this? And usually there's a little tag on it that says, customer said that there was dirt on the inside of the waistband or something. I suspect that maybe the customer put the dirt on the inside of the waistband. And I'm like, really? That's all that? And they're like, yeah, we can't send it out like that because it's been washed once and it's been worn. So my guest hunters and my camera guys, I mean, they're like, really? I get this? I'm like, yeah, it's supposedly a second. And they're wearing it 3 years later. It's performing flawlessly. So my point of that whole example is that what you guys invest up front in this process, I suspect, is a big reason why the amount of returns is so fractional.
Yeah, we think so.
Yeah.
And again, you talk about cost, but if we put that pant we talked about out in the field and it wasn't perfect, the consumer has such an high expectation of our product as we do that they would return it. And so is it better to take care of it up front or to potentially tarnish our brand and then have to deal with returns? I mean, it's just the right thing to do is to just not put something like that in the
or
market.
have someone have a bad experience because of a manufacturing quality defect and not talk to our customer service and just start blogging about how bad product was. Yeah, they call our customer service. They talk them through what happened and why it happened. Our customer service is going to take care of them.
Yeah,
and make sure it gets rectified.
Yeah, there's a saying in the business world that you find the best attorney in the world and then you figure out how not to need them. You operate in a manner that, and so in the manufacturing world, the companies I know that are kind of leaders in their field have a similar parallel to that, is have the best warranty and customer service in the world and figure out how not to have to inundate them. I mean, if you make a superior product, you can afford the best warranty in the world because you aren't going to have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully not exercise it very often. Yeah.
And let's face it, a warranty doesn't do anyone very much good if they're up on the Brooks Range of Alaska, Dall sheep hunting.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think FedEx is going to drop off a new item out
Right.
there for them.
But see, we've all been there, and we know how imperative it is. I mean, that clothing system is really your first line of defense. It's your first, survival mechanism is, to keep you warm, to keep you dry, to keep, perspiration off you or wind or whatever the case may be. And, we're wearing the same product we make. So I don't want to be up in the Brooks without having something that's essentially flawless and foolproof.
No, and look, I drive a desk for a living is what I tell people. In my other life, I'm a CPA, so I might not be the best ambassador of a real badass kind of guy for Sitka product, but in my other life, when I'm not disinheriting the federal treasury here at the CPA firm, I do spend about 120 days a year in your clothing, and I sleep in tents about 70 to 80 nights a year. So just over the course of that time, you expose yourself to enough of the elements of nature that you're going to find out what works and doesn't work.
Yeah,
And,
I'd say that's a good testament.
Yeah, I think that's pretty badass.
I think if people saw me on my local Dairy Queen run every evening, they'd be like, "This guy's not badass at all." But
the other thing, Randy, and I'm gonna cue Eric up a little bit here. I think because he doesn't promote himself enough. But we have some amazing designers. So one of the things we have is some amazing talent. Amazing designers. I'm talking people that are literally world class. We have the best factories in the world. We have the best materials in the world, or try to. And we never try to rest on our laurels. And so as we continue to evolve, and we're always trying to push the envelope. So for fall 16, I said the product comes out on Tuesday, but we took two of the best-selling products in the company, the mountain pant and the timberline pant, which everybody loves. You mentioned it. I love them.
You've got
but
you got me worried.
But
now.
even before I got to the company, I was thinking, man, like if I could only do this to it, if I could only do that to it. I'll just cut to the chase. So for fall 16, the mountain pant and the timberline pant have a new fit, so it's more refined. The build is, I don't want to say better, but maybe better is the right word. The textile in the mountain pant is updated now. So some people, to include myself, thought that when it got moist from perspiration or rain that it kind of sagged a little bit. It doesn't do that. We tapered the legs more to fit over boots but not have so much material that it swooshes when you walk. And so, guys like Eric and these designers are like, well, that pant was great when we did it, but we can do better now. And we don't have to do that.
Right.
We want to do that.
I'm looking at Eric like, all right, tell me what you've done to my favorite pant here, because I know I get your email and phone number. So
I think the biggest thing was the waistband. We made the waistband a hair wider, but a whole lot more thin, less or low profile. So when you're wearing a pack, you don't feel that waistband at all. We refit the shape of the knees, the shape of the thigh, the shape of the rise. The whole pant has been re-engineered for more performance fit, more athletic fit. And then the waistband construction was kind of where we tried to dial that in from the old traditional kind of jean style waist to a flatter, more low profile. I believe it's called a French waist. It's really flat, really thin, and it works really well underneath pack strap, waist straps. We updated the belt loop so it'll accept one of our new belts or wider belts in general. I mean, the belt loop, it used to come with a belt. We've taken that off. You can put your own wide belt in there. You can buy one of our new belts that are designed to fit in there as well.
You updated the suspender loops,
Yeah, more low profile, easier to get the suspenders in and out of them. It's like a 50-50 thing. Half people love them, half the people hate them. So
Yeah.
they're easy to get on and off.
So
But-
you at work, you look at these things and your mind doesn't say, "Oh, good enough. Get that thing out of here and let's get it sold." You're like, and the reason I say this is there's certain things I look at because I deal with it on a daily basis that other people are going to look at it differently. You're looking at these garments saying, we could tweak this, we could do that. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, between John, myself, the design group we work with, the designers, we're always trying to make things. I mean, not just better for better sake, but better because there's a need for it to be better, or just not just to make something different. We're trying to make it better because there's a need for it to be better. I mean, it was good as it was, but if you look at the thickness of our old mountain pant and belt loop construction and the new mountain pant belt loop and waistband construction, it's probably, I'm not going to say it's half as thick, but it's a lot thinner overall.
And so you just said something, Eric, that you said we went out and tested this in the way it fits with a pack on.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that extra step of how many other people think about, all right, the user of our gear is probably a backpack guy, going to be carrying 40 pounds on his back, going to have a thick waist belt, going to have this, that.
Yeah.
When you said that, I'm like, okay, cool. That tells me that the product is designed the way I use the product.
Yeah. And I referenced it earlier, but we'll do that. We'll get product wet, or we'll put the pants on and we'll load the packs up. We have 60-pound bags of dog food we've taped in the shape of hindquarters and stuff. We'll put them in the packs that people use to hunt. Our packs are, a competitor's. We'll put them on, and we'll go hike the M. We'll go. That's how we get our training in. But we're also quote working. But if you don't do that, if you don't actually use it the way that it's intended, then you never get that intimate connection with the product we talked about to know if it truly works.
And I can vouch that these guys are serious about their hunting. And again, the listener can't hear this, but before we turned on the mics, we were having this serious discussion about an important event that is happening this afternoon, where the productivity of anyone who applied for limited entry tags in Nevada is shot today. Because Eric and John and I were all like, "Oh, where did you apply? Where did I apply? Man, oh really? They're gonna announce it." So, if we seem distracted or interrupted, it's because I'm checking my phone occasionally to see if the draw results from Nevada are up.
And if you just hear a mic drop and the door close, it's because we all drew something.
So, point being that this is not guys who are just crazy about engineering high quality apparel. These are guys who are out using it for the application that we have. You guys hunt, all of us know situations where somebody is in a decision-making point in a manufacturing process who isn't engaged for the end use of the product. And you read business failures all the time. It's like, well, so-and-so was a car company, and the guy they had running that division, they brought him over from the surfboard industry. I'm making it, just throwing that out there. But
well, you've been to our office. You see it. There's
dead animals everywhere.
There's dead animals everywhere.
And if you want to,
there's backpacks and muddy boots and
bows
and everything.
Mountain bike. There is everything. When you go to Sitka, if I like how you have to push the button to be let in.
Most places you don't push the red button.
Yeah.
Sitka you do.
Yeah. It's like, man, and that just gives you this feeling like, man, I'm coming into some place here. You're kind of looking like, all right, am I have to go through TSA or what's the deal here? But point being, don't go to the Sitka headquarters and think you're going to talk to anybody from about August 15th to the end of the year.
Yeah, no,
because you walk by their desks and there's like an inch of dust on top of their desk. They've been out in the field so long that it's point being, you guys hunt, and it shows in the end product.
And so just one more thing about the pants that he didn't touch on, but and it shows a commitment, but we also brought out odd sizes now. So
For guys like me.
right, so I could wear a 36 and it fit good, and I could wear a 38 and it fit kind of okay, but I'm really a 37, and that 37 now that I've always wanted just fits awesome. And so again, that's a commitment from the business, because that increases the SKUs, we call it, right?
Yep.
Which is harder to not harder to manage, but just more effort to manage.
Right.
But that's the commitment we have. We're like, if we're gonna do this, like, let's really do it.
Yeah, and I would suggest to anyone who's listening who's looking at buying those pants, really measure your waist. Because if you're buying jeans at a 34 or 36, you may be a little bigger or a little smaller, and we've offered those odd sizes to fit that. Now you can tailor the fit. We have tall sizes available in those as well, so you can really customize your pant fit now at Sitka.
Really what you're doing is you're trying to solve the riddle for guys like me who, when I've eaten Dairy Queen all summer, I'm a 38. By the time season gets halfway through and I've been living on dehydrated foods and PBJs for 6 weeks, I'm now a 36.
There you go.
And yeah,
Maybe you could split the difference now.
yeah. I know, really. I'm, and even if I haven't been on the Dairy Queen binge this summer. I've been working out pretty much. So actually, I'm probably a 37, right, straight through. But it's interesting that you guys are going to that level because of your desire to make sure everybody, if they're investing, they're going to have the fit they need. It's not like
have the best experience possible.
right. Well, I gotta compromise. Do I want a 38 or a 36 or a 34 or a 36? Now it's like, this is what I am.
Yeah.
It's here. I can get it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So was that a business decision, or was that just
I think we sell a lot of pants, and we want to make sure our pants fit. And it's a lot easier to fit people of different sizes with more sizes.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to jam them into some a range of sizes, we give them, other than going half sizes, which would be incredibly laborious and difficult. We're giving them the next best thing.
Yeah.
Instead of going from 36 to 38, well, there's something in the middle there that we're missing, and we address that.
Yeah. So people see the Gore-tex tag hanging off all your garments. What are the benefits of having a Gore? And I don't know, are you guys allowed to talk about this? Am I opening
we'll
up a
talk high
can of
level.
worms?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the benefits of having a Gore company? I mean, that brand, that technology, that everything at your disposal. Does that give you an advantage?
I'll cue it up and to say that most people don't understand, and rightly so, I guess, but for a company to use Gore-Tex in their products, they have to essentially be vetted. They have to be vetted. The factory has to be vetted. The factory has to be trained.
The factory that's going to
manufacture
produce
the garment.
Right.
The factory has to use Gore-approved seam tape machines. They have to use their standards. So it is not an easy process, but just like we're talking about our product, they don't want their product, Gore-Tex, or the Windstopper, used in anything inferior, so that customer could have a bad experience.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to get that.
Right. And so just to kind of step back, Eric, I did not understand this until I went to a Gore-Tex session for a week. This Gore is, I'll call it a membrane.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right term?
Yeah.
to say?
It's like a film, microporous film membrane. I mean, if you look at it, it's incredibly thin. You wouldn't think it would be able to do much, but when it's applied to fabric and the technology they put into the membrane is how it maintains waterproofness.
And that membrane goes in between clothing layers in the manufacturing process, is that?
So the membrane is laminated to the outer shell of your big game cloudburst jacket or stormfront jacket. So you have your camo face.
Yeah.
the membranes behind that, and then there's usually, in all of our products except for insulated, there's a third layer that protects the membrane from abrasion.
Okay. And that membrane, whether it's Windstopper or Gore-tex, is to the core of a lot of the performance of your product.
It is. I mean, and
from the standpoint of waterproof, moisture transfer stuff.
It is. It is it's basically the foundation of the outermost part of our system.
Yeah. Because I didn't realize Gore-tex and Windstopper were these membranes, and you go back there and you see it, and it's like,
it's amazing
really?
stuff. Actually,
that thin little thing does that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they thought, oh, these guys doubt us. So we got to go into the lab and see all these tests they were doing with it. They were putting chemicals on it to see if, bug dope and gasoline and diesel fuel and all this stuff, if it would affect the membranes and what the transfer rates were, what pressures it could withstand. And I'm like, this is way beyond a bean counter's talent. Other than I look at these people and they're way smarter than me. Yeah. And if they're happy, I guess I'm happy.
And a lot of laminates, you can just go like. In previous lives, I could go buy a laminate from company A, B, and C, and they'll tell me it breathes 30,000, 20, well, whatever. They have, breathability and waterproofness, and that's all you gauge things by. What Gore has done is brought it to another level of guaranteeing that it's going to perform the way they tell you it's going to perform. It's not just an off-the-shelf product. Like you said, the factories are trained. They have special machinery to tape it that's all Gore supplied. And there's technicians. We have technicians in all the factories around the world, if not every day. A lot, good part of our manufacturing process. They're in there monitoring machinery, making sure they're constructing things properly. So there's a big investment on the Gore side to guarantee what it is that we're putting into our garments. Is the garment's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. And so beyond Sitka, just from a broader perspective, anyone using Gore products, Gore-tex or Windstopper, those products, even if they're our competitors, they are built to the highest standards because Gore demands that, and that is the agreement that they've got with that company. Yeah. And so it's a pretty big badge of honor to have that in any company. Because I've worked for some other folks doing product, and luckily I've always worked with Gore-tex, but they don't just let anybody take that and use it in a design process any way they want. It has to be to a very high standard.
Yeah, when I was back in Delaware and I was talking about this boot, this big long. I mean, but you really would have to see this machine to. I mean, my explanation of it doesn't give it full effect. It's these mechanical feet inside these boots, and it's just and it's all these repetitions of putting X amount of pressure on a boot, flexing it a certain way. And so I asked the dude there, he's got like a string of titles and degrees behind his name.
A bunch of letters after
I'm like, man, I thought CPA was an impressive title. This guy, he's way out there compared to me. And I said, well, what's the purpose of this testing? He said, well, this is a boot company that is wanting to be, what would I say, certified? I don't know if that's the right term. Mm-hmm. They want to use Gore-tex in their boot. So we've said, you have to ship us these boots, this number of them, and we're going to test them. And we're going to test all of your manufacturing processes. And so they had all these sensors inside the boots that were testing for moisture transfer, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what happens if the failure rate doesn't meet your expectations? Well, then we're either going to look at the boot design or we're going to look at the manufacturing process and find out from them which factory designed this boot or manufactured this boot, because maybe they're not meeting our expectations. I'm like, that's what you have to go through in order to get a, what would you call it, a certification?
Yeah, Gore certification,
yeah. And then they're doing the same thing with gloves also.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Well, Eric and I last winter, and a few of us were asked to do a quote boot test, and this was just some new technology Gore was trying, and so they had one of their manufacturers, well known, make these boots up, and it was a little uncomfortable, to be quite honest with you, but they came out and they taped sensors all over our feet, and we had to go out and cover X number of miles this day and X number of miles that day and log the temperature and the humidity, and everything was recorded, just so they could see, okay, the lab says one thing, but what's reality in the field? Because we know that sometimes that is not, right? We've all had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, the guy with all the letters after his name says one thing, but when we're out chasing elk or running dogs or whatever, like, does it really work?
Yeah.
And but that's the extent to which they go to, we go to, the partners that use Gore-Tex go to. It's just a commitment, really, is what it is. It's a commitment to just trying to do the right thing to the highest quality standards, and that's pretty cool to be a part of.
Yeah. In all your background, Eric, of working for other companies, I just, when I saw this certification going on back there, it seems like you get this Gore relationship must give you some access to when you call or you make a request to a manufacturing facility for textiles or for whatever it is. You must have access to certain technologies and manufacturing processes that maybe other companies wouldn't have, because I
think if you're a Gore approved supplier, you have access to a lot of the same things. I mean, we don't have any special access or behind the curtain type stuff. We have the same books that all our other competitors have for Gore textiles.
Mm-hmm.
We do talk to the people who are developing textiles and say, this is what we're looking for. If they develop something like that, it's never just for us. It's for the entire hunting brand, or a Gore hunting brand.
Uh-huh.
So we don't, there's not a lot. We don't get a lot of special.
No, I think they look at it as if you meet the standard, then you're in the club.
Okay.
And if you're in the club,
then
you get a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But we don't get any bigger peek behind the curtain.
Okay.
Right. I may have a direct phone number to call somebody and give them a hard time to get something, but I don't really get any special attention.
So you were talking earlier about, I think you guys said you called some person and said, hey, we need a fabric that does this under these conditions, that blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's got to be a very valuable resource in coming up with these textile designs.
100%. I mean, my expertise in fabric is only because I enjoy it, but her expertise is like she's not a PhD, but I think she might be a master's textile.
I'd give her a PhD.
She's
So if you say, look, we need something that has this durability factor, it has this ability to be printed, it has this noise I'm saying factors. You guys have measurements that you think of. That person, if you don't know it, you probably already know it because of your exposure to all this, but this person is like even.
Yeah, well, we had a problem with a textile last year, and we're like, we don't understand why textile A is not acting like textile B. They have the same face yarn, they're similar constructions, they're different. She was able to take it from that perspective and go, well, because of how it's knit, because of the openness or the closedness of the knit and the face yarn, even though they're the same, this could be happening to this. What we need to do is this.
She'll put it under the microscope and let us look.
Yeah.
And try to talk a knucklehead through me, through something like that.
It's like,
do you see this? Do you see that? And I'm like, nope, but I believe you.
Yeah.
But that's to the extent, like, she's looking at like individual, was it yarns?
Yarn, yeah.
She's like, no, but if they do it this way or twice that way, then you might get a different result. So she is literally, textile engineer is the right word.
Yeah.
She is engineering these products to try to meet our needs.
And then she'll go to the manufacturer and be like, okay, we need, what do you have available in this denier yarn? Can you take this, I'll just say 70 denier face yarn? Do you have access to a different denier that we can use as a face yarn? And then they got to look at, okay, yeah, we can do that. It works with our machinery. We might have to do A, B, and C to make it work right, to make it look right. And then we go knit some up, print it, test it. And we do, I think we did on that one textile, we did, I want to say there were six different variations we tested.
Really?
We lab tested it again to see which one performed the best. We picked 2 out of those 2 that performed the best in the lab, and then field tested them. So it's just
Which of these companies you go to for that, they don't do this for free, probably.
No. I mean, the testing. There's no. I mean, we have some access to testing at Gore, but they're so busy testing. That would be the freest, even though we pay for it somehow.
Right. And my point being, this is a big investment you guys are making just to even get to that point of saying, all right, give us 10 samples.
Yeah. So each sample's 50 yards, like a single roll of about 50 yards. So they've got to knit that up. There may, I'm not sure how it gets billed to us. Some of the knitting may be free because we're working out a problem.
Right.
Printing's not, the paper's not, the testing's not.
Yeah.
The time and energy, the manufacturing, the time we spend getting testers involved and recording data, sending it back. This.
And some of it's an investment on in this case, say the mill, because Sitka is growing, and we're getting to the point that they hope that if they work with us and we can develop textile A, that we're going to run X number of thousands of meters of it, and
that helps them.
Right, it does help them, and I think I hope anyways, it seems that we've got a good enough reputation that we don't just let them work and spin and churn with kind of no end result. Like, it's like, okay, well, we might start with 6, we'll probably get it down to 1 or 2, and the reality is we'll probably end up picking one and then running it with you.
Yeah.
And so we have good relationships with these folks. Of course, I'm sure 8 years ago when Sitka started, I mean, no startup has that ability.
You don't walk in and
pull.
say,
No, you don't walk into a textile mill in Asia and tell them what you want. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
right.
It doesn't work that way.
And that was, I mean, some of the benefits of being a Gore, Gore certified is their network of factories overseas is just impressive. And being Gore certified, where we get access to that. But they also make other things other than Gore products for us. So we benefit because we're in a Gore facility. They're an awesome factory. And they also make some of our insulated products or our base layer products, or, so we get that. That's definitely an advantage to being a Gore certified supplier. We get good, we're working with some of the best factories in the world. Again, we develop a ton of product, all of it which we pay for it somewhere. Time, energy, things that don't go to market, are costly.
Yeah.
Well, Eric's going to end up, doing 3 trips to Asia this year, which is that the most you've made?
Usually far? three is the most. I haven't, thankfully we have great factories. Usually a lot of the extra trips to Asia, usually for problems. So between Asia, El Salvador, 3 to 5 trips to different countries this year.
Yeah. So the stuff that June 1st, 2016 products are going to be on the shelf. Were people wearing that? How many people were wearing that out in the field last hunting season or this spring? A lot?
Yeah. I can't. I don't know if I can give you a number off the top of my head, but we'll let's say 12 to 18 folks were running around in it. I'll speak for myself. So I was running around in the new mountain pant and the new mountain jacket. I had the new mountain glove, and then some stuff that's not coming out for a couple more years. But and so I hunted in it all last year from August to the end of November. I think we hunted.
Yeah.
And then I was back in it in January down in Arizona this year.
Who's hunting?
mule deer.
Mule deer.
And then I was just down in New Zealand kind of hunting in it. So
I got the wrong job.
But here's the funny part. Now I got to thinking about this the other day. So that obviously those were prototypes. That wasn't production, and so it's probably 95% there, but maybe not, and there might be some odd things that a weird zipper or something. But now that we've kind of vetted it and it's in production, like the reality is Eric and I are probably not going to wear that mountain pack and jacket again because we're wearing the prototypes for the next year or two.
Right.
And so I guess what I'm trying to say is we never end up really wearing the finished product because we're always on to the next thing.
Right.
And we're always on to the next thing and the next thing. And somebody comes and says, oh, hey, I didn't know the mountain pan had like that zipper. And I said, oh, it doesn't. Like, and I have to look because we draw and we write inside. It's like, oh, this was like the second proto. Yeah. But it's when I'm running around it because the textile is exactly the way we want or the fit's exactly the way we want, Yeah. And by the time it rolls out in production, it's like, well, I don't need to pull something off the production line because I'm already on to 17 or 18 or 19 or.
Yeah. So the sales guy or the customer service guy comes down and says, hey, we got this question on this product, and you're like, your mind is like, when was that? That I was doing that 2 years ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So we always keep one of everything that's full production and have to go reference that because sometimes, we have. It's not that we don't necessarily remember, but there's so many details that run through our minds at any given time that. Yeah, if the customer comes and asks a really specific detail, we might not know that. We would have to go look. Yeah, because you guys, while sales and marketing is on the 16 product, you guys are 2 years ahead. We're already on 18. Yeah. and I've actually started a few things for 19. So,
is there? We'll wrap this up here pretty soon, but I'm sure the audience is thinking, come on, Randy, give us a little peek behind the curtain here. And I don't know that I can because I promised these guys I didn't want to endanger their jobs or anything by asking them questions. But I will ask, and you can say, no, I can't talk about that. You have that liberty. But anything that the listeners going to be interested to see when it comes out in this 16 line or anything you can, 16. Talk about beyond that?
See that's the problem. Like I'm thinking 16, but everything in my mind is 17. Like,
okay.
All the stuff that we're developing, like.
Okay. I will just say that if you have, as far as big game, I'll just speak for my own category. That if you like what we've done so far, and you've been a fan, hang on to your hat for the future.
For 16 or 17
and beyond. So we got great products in 16. We have a mountain jacket that now pairs with the ever popular mountain pant. And it's a taped windstopper jacket. And so people say, well, what does that mean? And Eric can probably describe it from a technical standpoint, but when you tape the seams on a jacket that's made of windstopper, I use the analogy that it's like chinking the logs of a cabin.
Okay.
And so if there's any little crease that wind can get through, you've now taped that. So it's a more refined.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner looking inside, and that's not the only reason to do it. The less chafing if you're wearing short sleeves, but also windstopper is just what it says. It stops the wind. Right. It does provide some water protection, and taping those seams just increases that. So you're not starting to feel water penetrating at your seams and your shoulders or your armholes first.
Yeah.
So now the whole, if it does start to let water through, it'll be in, key areas where maybe there's pressure or backpack straps, but it's not coming right through the seams, and you can feel it come through the seams pretty quickly if it's raining pretty hard.
Yeah. So you're saying my Jetstream jacket, that is the other part of my uniform?
So the Jetstream seams are not
so the
taped.
So the Jetstream, because of the backer on that, it's really difficult and very expensive to tape.
Okay.
We tape like our cold front jacket. It's a Gore-tex piece, needs to be taped, same backer. The Jetstream right now, it's been in the line as long as I've been at the company,
And don't get rid of it.
No,
It's
it's
not
a
Whatever
great
you
selling
do,
point.
if
It's
you
not-
if you get rid of that, I'm going out and buying every one of them I can find.
Well, and I look at it, the Jetstream is, it's a warmer piece. It's probably, it could obviously be raining and be that cold, but, most of the time it's, snowing or,
Right.
so it's not necessarily needed to be taped. These other pieces they're lighter weight, maybe more early season where there's a lot more potential for rain.
For rain rather than snow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the mountain pant's got the new fit, got the new size, got the mountain jacket to go with it. So now we're building, as you can see, we're starting to build a system.
Yeah.
We've got what we call the mountain windstopper glove now. So that is a short gauntlet windstopper glove, got a little bit of light insulation inside, but then it's got this really badass Petard's oil tack leather palm. And so crazy tough goat skin, and it's treated so it's got a really good grip. You would see it immediately. So it's really durable, but it's got a great grip. But the cool thing is, if things are wet or icy, that grip almost gets better. It's really, really durable.
Wow.
Really cool glove. But we also have the new refined fit of the Timberline pant.
Yep.
So we did the same thing, the Timberline pant, the new fit, the new sizing, the odd sizes, all that. But now we have a Timberline jacket for the first time.
Okay.
And so the Timberline jacket kind of in conjunction with the pant, it's a little more durable. So it's a taped windstopper jacket again. It's got a hood on it. The thing I like about the hood is more ergonomic. I like to say it's an athletic cut. So you use the Jetstream jacket as an example. So
Right.
when you pull the hood up on the Jetstream jacket and you move left or right, your head moves within the hood, and you kind of lose some peripheral, and
Right.
you're not out of the hunt, but you're not as engaged. And so with the Timberline jacket, it's the highest end windstopper jacket we've ever made, and it's got this refined hood that when you pull it up, it's more low profile, that you keep your peripheral vision. You can look up, and if you move your head, the hood moves with your head. And
Wow.
so you can kind of really stay more fully engaged in the hunt. The arms and shoulders have a durable face fabric applied on the outside, which the mountain jacket doesn't, for that added durability to kind of pair with the knees and the seat of the Timberline pant.
Yep.
And then in the arms and the chest, there's a lightweight LMC fleece.
LMC.
So not as warm as the Jetstream, where the Jetstream has that fleece all on the
Right.
inside. This is just in the chest and the arms. So this is a more refined jacket. It's going to be more packable, lighter weight, give that little bit better wind protection because of the tape seams. So if you're a backpack hunter, if you're going, off the grid for a couple days and weight is of the essence, you're in that dynamic weather, that mid-season to late season, that would be the jacket. That would definitely be the jacket.
I think he might be selling you on a different jacket choice.
It might be. And the reason being that I love the windstopper is our normal day is leave the truck way before the sun comes up, and we hike for an hour or two to get to a glassing location. When I get up there, I want the fastest evaporation rate I can possibly get,
Yeah.
which windstopper is great with that.
Right.
And then usually as quick as the sun starts coming up and the temperatures start changing, the wind starts chucking. And I don't want to be a frozen popsicle
Yep.
up there. And the Jetstream is the best thing I've found for that.
Yeah.
It's a great piece.
I'll be interested to see
Yeah,
how
you
this
should-
new Timberline.
Yeah, you should. And the Jetstream is still a fantastic piece. I mean, it's
Yeah,
still one of
it's-
my favorite pieces. It's one of the more popular pieces in the big game line for sure. But this Timberline jacket's pretty doggone nice.
Huh.
And so then there's kind of to pair with that late season, mid to late season offering, there's a new glove called the Cold Front glove. So the Cold Front glove is a short gauntlet glove as well. It's a Gore-tex shell, so it's a camouflage Gore-tex shell. It's got some Primaloft, so a light Primaloft insulation to add that warmth. But again, it's got that badass oil tack leather palm to really give you that grip in those wet, icy conditions.
Yeah.
How do I get a pair of those?
You got to know somebody at Sitka.
I'm screwed. Oh gosh!
And we actually, the lining of that glove, some of our waterfowl gloves, we've got a woven lining that's bonded to the insulation, and that we do that because when your hands are wet, you try to get into a fleece lined glove, and so
or when you pull it out,
So our waterfowl, a lot of our waterfowl, or some of our new waterfowl gloves have a woven liner. It's soft, it's not brushed, so it's maybe not what you're used to inside a glove. When your hands are wet, either way, you can slide in and out.
Totally functional.
So we've used some of that learning on this glove, and it's on the backhand bonded to the back of the hand insulation. So you still have a little bit of the palm side's relatively thin, and there's a heavyweight fleece there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get your hand in, and then that backer is woven, and it's got a DWR finish on it. So when you're sliding your hand in, it's not going to absorb water, get wet. And it's really nice for getting your hand in and out when it's
But we
wet
didn't
or
start
cold.
there.
We didn't start there.
We didn't start there, but two guys came back from a week-long elk hunt that they had packed in on, and it was wet, and they came back and said, I think you guys are being a little too smart with yourselves, that this glove with this fleece inside is not as good as it could be.
Yeah.
And so we kind of, so this is the internal guts of the glove, so to speak,
Right.
and it's like, yeah, all right, well, we need to look at that then and figure that out. So what do we do? Like we went through, it's funny, pretty comical some of the stuff we do, but so we had a bunch of essentially samples made up, right, of these different liners, what the glove would be like inside, and then we just put our hand in a bucket of water and stick it in and out of the glove and see which one was better and which one absorbed less water and which one was easier to get in and out of, and I mean, because in theory one would work over the other, but
Yeah.
who knows?
And we used a bunch of different textiles. This one, it wouldn't, if you look at it, you'd be like, there's no way I'd ever want that inside my glove. It's not brushed, it's not warm, it's not fuzzy. But when your hand is in there, you don't even notice that it's a woven textile. It feels just as nice. It may be a hair cooler than a normal brush textile, but after being able to get your hand in and out, it's really it's a great thing we came up with to make it easy to do that and not really affect how your hand feels in the glove.
So that much thought in engineering goes into a glove.
The inside
of the glove, yeah.
And so just because I got my sales hat on, I'll wrap up a few more things. So we have these drifter duffel bags this year that are pretty cool. They come in 4 different sizes.
Tell me what.
So they're highly water resistant. We're not calling them waterproof because they're not technically waterproof, but highly water resistant. And they're 45 liter,
45, 70,
45, 75, no, 45, 70, 95,
and 120.
Those are liters, right? And so we've got some great luggage pieces, but the reality of those luggage pieces is you load them up, you can take them through the airport or check them on a plane, and then if you get to the trailhead or you get to the float plane base, you're leaving them behind.
Yeah.
And so the drifter duffels you can basically take from your pickup through the airport and into the field with you.
So you're saying when I was up in Alaska, black bear hunting in southeast
would have been
Alaska a couple of weeks ago?
It would have been a great thing. So I had one down in New Zealand, loaded it in Hilo. We flew up into the mountains tar hunting and, had it in the vestibule of my tent with some stuff in there, had it outside when I needed a little more room. And they're just fantastic. They're durable. They look good. They have a size to kind of meet your needs. So throw it in a pannier, throw it in the back of a Piper Cub, throw it in the bottom of a boat, ATV, whatever. And then just because I probably have to represent Sitka, not just Sitka big game.
Eric's over here laughing, pointing.
Right? Because 2 of my counterparts are going to give me a hard time if I only talk about big game, but I'm the one that's here and they're not. But we have the new timber pattern in waterfowl, which is just pretty badass. So that's a
timber camo pattern.
Yeah, it's called timber.
Timber.
And it's
for flooded timber.
Flooded timber's kind of the intent, but looks really good.
So you're saying that if I go and visit my brother-in-law in Searcy, Arkansas.
Oh,
Yep.
you need to
And
bring
he
him
takes
some
me.
flooded
He
timber.
takes me out in his boat, and we stand in the flooded timber. I'm guaranteed, as bad of a shot as I can be, I'll still be guaranteed to get my limit.
Jim would probably guarantee that.
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
but so and I will definitely give a plug to waterfowl because I think this is super cool though, and people can find these. I think there's a video online on our website, but how do you design a camouflage pattern for flooded timber?
Yeah.
So I mean, okay, you can make it. You could do the mimicry thing and make it look like your surroundings, but at the end of the day, does that really work with ducks? And so we have a company that does kind of the science-based approach to our patterns.
Right.
But, just like we did with whitetail, the deer's on the ground looking up at the hunter in the tree. They actually flew drones over flooded timber with people in different patterns as they did this development process, looking down, and they figured out that the
angle.
the degree or the angle that these birds come in and drop down through this flooded timber. And they would take the drone and they would drop the drone down with cameras to get the bird's eye view, and then apply the true bird's eye view, and then apply the science to see what really did break up the human outline. And that's the extent that it's fun.
Right.
It's fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it is a process. There's no doubt about that.
The other product for speaking of waterfowl is the layout series we got coming out, which is if you're a waterfowl goose hunter, layout blind hunter, it is.
There's nothing ever been made like this.
You got to check it out. It's pretty.
When will all of our waterfowl fanatics be able to see
Is it July?
Yeah,
I think it's July.
July.
I think a lot of those products will drop in July.
So when I'm laying in a sugar beet field over in Forsyth, Montana in January,
That's what you
That's
want.
what you want.
you're saying that I won't be laying there with my teeth chattering so loud that I probably scared away everything.
No, that's what it's the piece you want. It's a bib and a jacket. The bib has some we call it ground shield technology. So there's added insulation in your backside and a little bit of protection. So it's a foam, aerogel foam that helps conductive heat loss, but also provides a little bit of cushioning. So if your layout blind doesn't have a pad or it's a thin pad, this will help.
The times when I go and do layout blinds, that movie, The Christmas Story, and the little kid is all bundled up. I can't put my arms down. That's how I don't get cold easily.
Yeah, but then you can't shoot.
I know, that's it. I can't sit up. Take them. And you sit up and it's like, they're gone by the time you get all of your clothing out of the way to finally shoot.
Yeah.
On those really cold mornings. And those are the mornings you want to be there because those are the mornings the geese don't want to be in the air. They're coming down.
They want to get down.
And so, that's interesting.
But just to give you, this is another great example, this layout series. So, if you were to be down in the dungeon when we were kind of developing the layout series, you'd have seen a bunch of layout blinds laying in that small space we have down there because it doesn't do you any good to design the product to stand up or to walk or to drive to the field, right? It's intended to be worn in the layout blind. And so, the neck, and Eric can probably speak more technically to this, but the neck on the front of the jacket is scooped out or ovaled because when you're in a layout blind and you've got that little bit of padding in head behind your head, your chin is farther forward, and a traditional collar doesn't necessarily work.
Yeah,
very
it chokes
well.
you.
And so you had to keep tweaking it and laying down the blind and tweaking it and laying down the blind and getting a proto and laying down in the blind because it's intended to be worn laying down in the blind and shooting.
Yeah.
And so we've been trying to get a tree, like a no kidding giant tree trunk, brought into the dungeon and I don't know, welded into place or whatever we got to do so that we can hang a tree stand so that we don't have to keep going out into the field and driving somewhere to a tree stand to do the whitetail products because the whitetail products are designed to be worn sitting or standing in a tree stand.
Right.
And so we're like, hey, we need a tree with a tree stand in the dungeon so that we can keep working on these whitetail products. Luckily for me, the big game stuff, we have to get out and hike and hunt a little more. But purpose built, is more than a buzzword where we work, for sure. But I think we should probably not talk about products for 16 anymore, because I guarantee you I'm going to slip and start talking about future stuff.
Exactly.
Well, that gets me to a point. You know, I'm going out with one of your athletes this year. It's going to be on my TV show. And I'm sitting here thinking, all right, I signed this NDA. And me and this guy are going to be out there elk hunting. How am I not going to... How are people not going to see this stuff? I think the stuff you're sending him with is 17 stuff.
I think you're going to have it too. You are. I've ordered you some stuff. I don't know
That's
if you know
why-
that.
that's
Happy
what-
birthday.
Oh, that's why you asked for my sizes.
That's why I asked for your sizes.
Oh, I thought you were just curious about how does a guy this fat get up the mountain. But, okay. Well, I guess I'm... So, on that hunt then, because when I sign all this, you know, I won't do this, I won't do that, I won't tell my wife about this, and the secretary can't know that. I'm thinking, if we do shoot something, I won't be able to tell anyone. I won't be able to post no pictures on my website.
Not immediately. You better talk to David about that.
David being the marketing guy.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, the odds of me shooting something are pretty slim. So I guess we don't got to worry about that.
But no, you know, if somebody's good at tailing, and they tailed you down to New Mexico, yeah, they would see some stuff. I mean,
okay.
you know.
So now when someone sees me in the field in New Mexico and I'm wearing something different, what am I going to tell them? Top secret? Can't tell you. We'll have to kill you if we tell you.
Just say we can't talk about it.
Okay.
And if they take a picture, run.
grab the card out of their camera. I doubt that. The only reason I say that is it's amazing how many I drive this Nissan Titan, and so many times people recognize the truck.
Oh.
And we'll come back to the trailhead and I'll see guys sitting there and I'll tell the crew, I'm like, I bet you these guys recognize the truck. And it happens a lot. And that's the fun part about doing what I do is people want to tell their hunting story and, oh man, we saw this big bull today and we had it. I love doing that part of it, but I'm sure when we're down in New Mexico for that elk hunt,
Oh yeah,
we'll bump into
we're
some
not
people,
we're not
so.
going to talk about anything officially, but if people end up having to see something and want to start blogging about it, you know what? That's all good chatter.
Yeah, that's
all
all
good
kind
chatter.
of
We
builds
love
a
the
little bit of
we love the excitement.
yeah, builds a little bit of mystique to it or whatever,
Yeah.
or enthusiasm.
Yeah,
or
we got to
whatever,
have fun
so.
with it. You know.
Well, if I don't kill an elk, I guess I'm just going to come back to the dungeon and look you guys up and say, this clothing you got to start over. I didn't fill my tag.
I'm pretty sure the guy you're going with is going to kill one. So
I hope so. I talked to him yesterday, and this is really cool. I found out that the road is gated where it never used to be. I called the friend down there. He's like, oh, you better know the road is gated. So we're looking for a bunch of those big fat tire mountain bikes because now it adds like 6 miles to get to where I want to go.
come talk to me.
Oh, really? You know.
I got a Eric, we got a badass one down in the dungeon.
Really?
Made up just for this.
No
Yeah, that'd
way.
be perfect.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in my normal elk hunting thing, it's where do other people not want to go because it's ugly and blow down or steep or just the distance.
Yeah.
And when I heard this road is now gated, I'm like, this is where we're going. And so I was talking to him. I'm like, how do you feel about hiking an extra 6 miles each way? He's like, well, I guess that's what we got to do. I'm like, well, I'm not that excited about it. But so we concluded that if we could find some of these big fat tire mountain bikes.
I'm surprised he doesn't own one.
Well, he has a trailer he was talking about, and I have one of these trailers too. But if there's any people listening who have connections to one of those companies that make these big fat tired mountain bikes, the email address is randy@randynewberg.com.
Yeah, you need to come see us again. We'll show you.
I'll show you. Yeah.
It's
cool.
It'd be perfect for.
yeah. I think the terminology nowadays is it's dope.
Dope.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's not a term I use, but
I know.
Probably some of the people listening will go, "Wow, that's really cool. It's dope." No, it's really cool.
Dope.
It's really cool. It's tricked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's going to be me and him and 2 camera guys. You got 4 of them?
No, I only got one.
We got one, but
It's a place to start.
yeah.
Okay. Boy, that'd be.
It's a place to
We'd look
start.
like Butch and Sundance if there's 4 of us on that one bicycle. Either that or we're going to be doing paper, scissors, rock to see who gets to walk and who gets to ride the bike.
We were actually down in Arizona in January. Me and Adam Foss, one of our athletes, and doing this mule deer hunt, and we were hunting with Greg Krogh, another athlete.
Yeah.
So he's just showing us around, and guy's unbelievable. That's a whole nother podcast.
Right.
But he had gotten his hands on one of these felt mountain bikes that has the little Bosch motor assist.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you have to pedal it. It's not like you don't ride it like a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
But so Adam and I we hiked in 6 miles, I guess, spent a week. And Greg, because he was just kind of showing us around, he had other obligations. He came and went a couple times over the course of that week. And so what took us 6 miles and hour and a half or whatever to hike, he was traveling back and forth in 15 minutes at a time. And I mean, you want to talk about energy savings and
Time.
it was so that was the first time I'd actually got to see one of these. And this was not an area that was restricted by any
Right.
kind of motorized thing or anything.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it was cool because you just pedal like you're on a Sunday stroll and you're going like 15 miles an hour or something. It's just crazy. And it's got you have to charge it after I think it goes 50 miles. And
Yeah.
but really an awesome tool, I think, for the right application.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't believe we drew the tags, quite honestly. I'm like, I told him, it's Corey Jacobson. Corey, like, we did Montana last year, and people are going to see the Montana elk hunt this season on TV with me and Corey. And I said, well, there's this one spot in New Mexico I know about. We should apply. And so we got to looking at the odds. We're like, well, this is a donation to the cause. And then when we drew, I'm like, whoa, this is... I didn't expect that. So,
but you don't play the point game in New Mexico.
No,
so
there is no
theoretically
point.
everybody has
same
the
chance.
same chance.
Yeah, what is
but
it? 6% of the tags.
Everybody
I
has
think?
a 6% chance.
Yeah,
Whatever it is.
goes to the self-guided non-residents. So, I told Corey, well, we better put this unit on our application because let's make that our third choice because at least there the odds are like 10%. And we drew our first choice. So he's lucky. I told him, I said, Corey, I got to play with you more often. I can see
He
that.
is lucky, isn't he? He's drawn some Arizona tags that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I told him how lucky he is, he just almost dropped the phone laughing. He's like, pot, meat, kettle.
Yeah, what'd you say about Utah this year?
Yeah, so,
but we better check our phones for the Nevada results.
Yeah. So that'll be fun to go do that. I didn't know if you guys were going to have me out there in just solid patterns but now it's nice to know I get some of this 17
I mean, we could
stuff.
treat you like riffraff if you want to, but
I'm accustomed to that. So
we wanted to, wanted to show our appreciation.
Well, I appreciate that, John. The marketing side over there, I don't know. It takes a lot of work to get through the firewall over there at your marketing department. I think I'm going to, when I come over.
They might make you sign another NDA.
Yeah, probably. They'll probably make me sign a document that Newberg, you're finally going to shoot something in one of these episodes. So, yeah, I don't know if I should even tell the audience this, but yeah, I'm going, what the hell? They're going to see it on TV. But I had such a slam dunk shot on my last hunt, and I missed. I'm right-handed. I could make that shot 100 out of 100 times left-handed offhand if I had it all over again. So I'm worried that when all of my sponsors see that poor performance out there on my part, they're going to dump me. They're going to be like, we got a knucklehead like this using our product? Oh, gosh, I'm still embarrassed about it. It's like, so maybe that's why your marketing department puts the "we're busy" sign up when Andy comes walking by. I'll just go over in the dungeon from now on. But
You're always welcome down there.
Well, I appreciate that. If nothing else, I'm good at sweeping floors and washing people's cars and taking their dogs for a walk or whatever. So, but well, we're pushing close to 2 hours here, guys, and
wow.
I feel like we could
Holy
talk
shit,
a lot
that
more.
was
fast.
It's awesome.
I guess I always let the guests make sure that we've not left any important points out of the discussion. So if there are any additional things you guys want to make sure the audience that we leave them with that, or if there's any profound advice that you want to leave for the listener, now is your chance.
Certainly not profound advice. But
Yeah.
I think this was, thanks for calling us. I think this was a great idea. I don't think people fully understand sometimes what goes into creating these products. And
Yeah.
I mean, we're proud of them, and we hope people are, our consumers, proud to wear them. But hopefully this little bit of insight just, makes them look at things, either our product or others, just with a critical eye and go, man, I wonder what went into this.
Yeah.
And, they can certainly call and bug customer service and ask them.
I like how the product guys give the phone
Oh, yeah.
number
Yeah.
for customer service. Yeah, call the customer service guys.
I'm never at my desk. Don't call me at my
Exactly.
desk.
No, I think this is great. It's a lot of nobody really knows unless you're in the industry what it takes to build a product, and there's many different ways to do it. And I think the way Sitka chooses to do it, the way we choose to do it at Sitka is top notch and one of the best processes that you could go through to build a product for the end user.
Yeah.
But and not just in the hunting industry. We're talking in the technical outdoor space.
Oh yeah,
Of apparel.
We feel we're doing it as good as anybody.
yeah.
Yeah, and for the listener, what got me thinking that this would be a cool podcast is I'm pretty, what would you say? Because of my platforms and what I do, I get to see a pretty deep view of a lot of this stuff. But when I went over to your laboratory there and saw all the lab rats you had for your experiments, and then I spent time in the field with some of your field testers. I'm like, you know what? As hard as it is for a podcast to really give some full context to what goes into this, from idea to testing, from testing to, all right, let's get some prototypes, to, all right, we're good, let's manufacture. I just wanted, it struck me. I was like, holy crap, how does this company make any money? Really, I mean,
In spite of ourselves.
Yeah.
and I say that because I started asking questions,
Mm-hmm.
at each phase of the process to learn. And I'm like, that's not the norm. That cannot be the norm.
It's not the
No.
norm.
And so I just wanted our audience to get a feel for that. So that's why I said, all right, I'm going to see if these guys are willing to risk their jobs by coming and telling the world some of the trade secrets here. So, but I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. It's been a joy to get to know you guys over the course of time and to talk about this before we even got on the podcast. We met, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Where
I think so. Yeah.
we rehearsed this and we kind of went through the what's trade secrets that would get somebody fired and what's not. So I think we've done a good job of walking that line.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
Well, Eric and I will find out here soon.
Yeah.
huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, when I load this podcast up tonight and you guys come back to work on Monday and there's an email, come
Yeah.
and see HR,
Yeah.
you'll know that Newberg spilled the beans on you. So, but
No, we're good. We're so passionate about it, which I hope comes through, right?
Yeah.
Not just about this, but hunting as well. But yeah, it's nice to be able to talk about it a little bit to an audience that I think would appreciate what we have to say.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I go out on our Hunt Talk forum, and this is a little bit of a plug for one of my other platforms. Go to hunttalk.com, and those guys out there, there's thousands of them hanging out there. They are serious about their gear. They're critical about, I need this app. I have a specific need for this application. And I think that's why so many of the questions on our podcast thread out on the forum have been about how products get made. And it's, they have asked questions about the optic side where I use Leupold. How does this work?
That's another fascinating
topic.
And so the fact that clothing is such a critical part of being comfortable in the field, comfort allowing you to hunt as hard as you want to hunt, it just seemed like the natural discussion to have for that audience. So, and then people get to see us using it on the TV show, which our show starts airing July 3rd, I think. We're on Sunday nights this year, and people say, well, at what time? And I get all messed up with time zones based on where they're asking the question from. So I just tell them, you know what, in Montana, it's 9:00 on the Sportsman's Channel on Sunday night. Go from there. It's mountain time. So we're really appreciative of Sitka's commitment to the hunting space, to conservation. All of our partners are big advocates and supporters of conservation. Sitka's right at the top of that leadership role, and just makes a badass product. I don't know how else to say it.
That'll work.
Yeah, that does it.
Okay.
Thanks.
So anyhow, folks, thanks for listening. Go to hunttalk.com and join the conversation there. We're really ramping up things on our YouTube channel, Randy Newberg Hunter, and you're going to see some big surprises coming on that YouTube channel in the next 2 months. So I hope you'll go there and subscribe. It is free. And John, Eric, thanks so much, guys. I hope when we turn on our phones after this, we're all dancing out in the parking lot because we drew our, whatever tag it is we were dreaming of in Nevada. So thanks for listening, folks. We sure appreciate it. 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 Sure appreciate it.